You're watching LimeNews, the show where we talk about news. I'm your host, Lime, and this might be a longer one because I have two important news stories, and they'll both require some explaining. Also, I'm talking a bit quietly now because I'm filming this late at night. Anyway, our first news story is ISIS. Now, I think that in order to understand ISIS and where we are right now, it helps to understand a bit more about the Syrian Civil War. So the Syrian Civil War started a few years ago during the Arab Spring. Basically, a bunch of people in Arab countries didn't like their governments and they started revolutions, some more successful than others. One such revolt happened in Syria. So there's the Syrian government led by Assad against Syrian rebels, as well as Kurdish rebels. But the Kurds are a whole other story. Now, as the war went on, foreign countries got involved. Like Russia and Iran started supporting Assad. The United States, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia started supporting the rebels. And there are also a lot of conflicting sides. And so the war's been going on for years. With all these different foreigners just coming in, fueling the violence just to make sure that their side gets on top in the end. So, into this violence comes the terrorist group ISIS, the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, and they recruit a lot of people, and they end up taking over huge areas. This was big news a couple of years ago. And the strange thing is that ISIS has kind of gone down in news attention ever since that point. It's kind of weird, like, we see this huge terrorist group gaining huge amounts of land in Iraq and Syria, and then we just hear nothing about it for years on end. Well, that's because they've been shrinking continuously. One of the major reasons the U.S. officially got involved in the Syrian Civil War was to fight ISIS. And so we've been fighting them, ever since, I believe 2013, 2014 is when we got involved. So, what's happened to ISIS? Well, they're gone. Yeah, ISIS has been defeated. Surprisingly enough. There's a recent battle, and, well, they're gone now. They've lost their last bit of land, and, as a, military force, we've beat them. That's not to say that they don't still have terrorist branches which could carry out attacks, but in any military sense, they're gone. So, woo, we defeated a terrorist group. It's pretty fun. And so that begs the question, where exactly are we now in the Syrian Civil War? Trump said that he's going to pull forces out, American forces, since ISIS is gone, and allow Assad to take over. But there are still American troops in Syria as we speak, so it's kind of unclear as to when the U.S. will be backing out and under what conditions. Will Syria just be ruled by Assad pre-Arab Spring? Or will there be changes? What's going to happen to the Kurds? And how much longer is this going to last? This war has been going on for years. And I think pretty much everyone wants some sort of peace at this point. So we just have to wait and see. But the main reason America got involved is now over. ISIS is gone. So what next? Who knows? But now hopefully you're up to date on what's going on over there. Next news. In the last video I said that I'm going to be starting Zesty LimeTube Food Reviews Season 2. Yeah, I changed my mind. Not doing that. It's probably coming out eventually, a Season 2, but I don't know. My heart's just not in it, So, no food reviews in the foreseeable future. And final piece of news, probably the one that's got the most attention recently, is Article 13. Now, there's been a lot of talk about Article 13, but I feel like not many people truly understand what it is. So, Article 13 is part of a copyright law within the European Union. And the copyright law is pretty controversial, the most controversial part of it being Article 13. Generally, what Article 13 says is that websites where users post content, I'll be using YouTube as an example, and I'll just say YouTube in my explanation, but just know that this also applies to places like Reddit, pretty much all social medias, even like Spotify, any platform like that. Those websites will now be responsible within European Union countries for making sure that no copyrighted content, copyright infringing content is on their platforms. Now I think I should also briefly explain what copyright is. If I make something creative and it's original enough, I can create a copyright for that thing. And if I have a copyright, then nobody else can use that creative thing that I made without my permission. Which gives me a lot of power over that thing. Be it an idea, or a song, or a logo, whatever. Or a TV show. And so, if somebody uses copyrighted material without my permission, then they're doing something illegal, and they're violating copyright laws. And so, what Article 13 does is it says to websites like YouTube, hey, if you have any copyright infringing material, you're responsible in any case of a lawsuit. Now, the reason why this is controversial, well, first of all, I'll get into the arguments for Article 13. A lot of people say that this makes YouTube more accountable. You know, nobody likes having their content stolen. You know, if you steal content, that's theft, plagiarism. And so, we need people to be responsible to stop this. And obviously, you can find copyright infringing content on the internet. You know, that's what pirating is. And pirating is theft. So really, this is just to stop theft, and we all agree that theft is bad. So, we're stopping theft. That's basically the argument for Article 13. A lot of musicians are saying this. Like, we made the music, it's our music, so we need to make sure that people don't steal it. But, as you probably know, there are also arguments against Article 13. And this is less because of what Article 13 itself says, and more so what the realistic effect of Article 13 would be. So, there's a difference between copyright infringing content and fair use of copyrighted content. In copyright infringing content, not really, well, content, but in copyright infringement, you're just taking something copyrighted and not really changing it. That's like, you know, posting an episode of some TV show on YouTube without changing it. That's copyright infringement because you're taking what other people made, something that they have a copyright on, and you're just posting it without their permission. Fair use, on the other hand, includes use of copyrighted materials, but in a legal way. So this includes commentary, like I show clips from a TV show while also using them to explain, say, a review of the TV show. Also included under fair use is news coverage. So if there's a clip from the TV show that's relevant to the news, you know, I could show part of that clip. Also, it includes satire and parody, since, you know, you are changing the original content to have some other message. Also included under fair use is most memes. A lot of the focus on Article 13 has been memes. And if you look at a lot of memes, they are like, they're images from copyrighted areas, but they're used in fair use ways. So, for example, like the Drake meme, it comes from a song by Drake, and there are 2 screenshots of Drake. Now, the song itself is copyrighted, but just having those 2 screenshots and putting different text over it is perfectly legal and fine. Also, a lot of stock photo memes. You know, stock photos are copyrighted, but they're under fair use, unless you just start displaying stock photos. So if you put text over a stock photo, or use a stock photo as a joke, then that's fair use. You know, also, you know, Pikachu memes, Thanos memes, all of those have copyrighted content, but use them in fair use ways. And Article 13 distinguishes between copyright infringement and fair use. However, in the implementation of Article 13, things might get complicated. Because remember, Article 13 says that, say, YouTube will be responsible for any videos uploaded. So that gives YouTube two options. Either have human reviewers see the videos, or use robots. Approximately 40 hours worth of video is uploaded to YouTube every minute. That's an insane number. That would be a lot of staff for YouTube to hire, and all of those staff would need to know everything about copyright, how it works, the differences between copyright infringement and fair use, and every copyrighted material, which is impossible. Even, well, maybe not impossible, but it would cost way too much to really be feasible. So, YouTube would have to use robots, to sort between, okay videos and copyright infringing videos. The problem is that robots aren't great at distinguishing between copyright infringement and fair use, which is where the whole meme ban thing comes in. Because a robot might see a meme, it might see a picture of, say, surprised Pikachu, and say, oh look, that's Pikachu. Pikachu's copyrighted. Therefore, that meme is copyright infringement. And so the bot would automatically censor the Pikachu meme. Now again, that Pikachu meme is not in direct violation of Article 13, but in the robot's implementation of Article 13, it would see the Pikachu as copyright infringement. Because bots just aren't that great, at least now, at distinguishing between copyright infringement and fair use. And so that's the knock on Article 13. Sure, it might stop copyright infringement, but at what cost? If you run a parody channel or a satire channel, or you do commentary, or you make memes using copyrighted materials, or even just news that involves copyrighted clips, you could have your videos taken down by a robot who views your content the wrong way. And Article 13 would force these websites to have strict robots, or else they face lawsuits. So, if you support satire or commentary or news or memes, then Article 13 would be dangerous to you, is the argument. So those are the major concerns for and against Article 13. I'd like to end by actually examining what the current status of Article 13 is, because a lot of people are sort of panicking and saying that all memes are going to die, which isn't exactly true. Article 13 does not make memes illegal. Memes are perfectly fine, just that a robot might accidentally see a meme as copyright infringement. And not all memes would be subject to this. Only ones which use copyrighted content. To be fair, that is most memes which use fair use, but some memes don't. And so, about Article 13 itself, it's been in the works since 2016, and it's changed since it was first announced. Article 13 originally was very strict in what it considered to be copyright infringement, but recently it's gotten a lot vaguer and more vague and more loose, so it's unclear exactly what would be considered copyright infringement and how strictly that's going to be enforced. So it's not the same Article 13 as it was a year or 2 years ago. It's a softer Article 13, which, depending on how you see it, could mean better things for memes and other fair use ideas. And also about just the current legal status of Article 13. The way that EU law works is that a law first has to be passed in Parliament, which it just did, and then specific EU member states have to make their own laws. So the EU just passed something now. France has to make a French Article 13, Germany has to make a German Article 13, Ireland has to make an Irish Article 13, etc. And so those are where the real power comes in, because the EU itself doesn't really have governing power. Only once the specific countries approve Article 13 does it go into effect. And so currently none of the countries have done that, so Article 13 is not in effect. And even once it goes into effect, then, websites like YouTube and other social medias would have to decide what algorithms to employ. And only after the algorithms are employed will this affect content, including memes. So there's still a couple steps to go until Article 13 does anything. And until then, it's going to be the same internet as we've been having. I feel like there's something else I was going to mention. Oh, yeah. So, also, about these specific countries passing Article 13 laws, how those laws are going to work is going to be partially up to the specific countries. So one country might have the law to be looser, one country might have the law to be stricter. Chances are France is going to make a really strict law, but a country like, the Netherlands is going to make it more loose. Why are there police vans? Anyway. So yes, that's Article 13. And after the countries pass the laws, it will be up to the website to decide how their algorithm will interpret the laws and what that will mean. And then it'll be tested by lawsuits. Basically, laws are kind of weird. And so, legal procedure is slow. So don't expect, an overnight change in memes, because that's not going to happen. And as of yet, this is only in Europe, so we just don't know. So I wouldn't panic quite yet, even if you don't like Article 13, but just know how it's progressing. Well, that's it from me. Jeez, this is almost like a half-hour video at this point, but when you're explaining deep concepts, you've really got to get to it. But anyway, if you've stayed this far, thank you, and remember, stay educated and stay informed.